Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of On the Fly, casual conversations around coaching youth lacrosse. I'm your host, Martin Bowes. I'm the coach and player education director for Massachusetts Youth Lacrosse, and I'm very excited to share with you an episode today that is a segment of a recent Zoom call that I put on for youth lacrosse coaches. The title of that Zoom call was Leveling Up Stick Work and Footwork. And what I did was I went through a couple principles around stick work and footwork, and I covered a number of drills that are beneficial for coaches. And what I'll do in today's episode is cover one of those drills. I'm going to take a segment of that Zoom call recording and I'm going to show it to you here because I think it's worth sharing. And it's one of my favorite stick work drills. I titled it 4-cone, 3-athlete stick work, and I'll go over sort of how to set this up, what to prioritize when you're giving your coaching cues, and just to give a little bit of context into this particular drill, this is catered towards athletes that can throw and catch. So maybe this isn't something you do on day one with your first and second grade team, right? However, there are ways that you can take this drill and simplify it and have them roll it instead of pass it so that you can focus on the footwork. So that's an option if you really want to do something like this, because it is a beneficial emphasis to teach cutting after throwing. Okay? Very often in lacrosse, we will have to throw on the run and catch on the run. That's absolutely true. But in this drill, you're able to catch and throw in a stationary position, and the emphasis is on throwing the ball and then making the decision to cut and trying to build a habit of cutting after throwing. And so this is a drill that can help you sort of incentivize and promote that behavior of, after you release the ball, take some new space. So really like this drill. It's good if you have a big group. You can set as many of these kind of squares of cones up. For those that are listening to this while driving, do your best to take it in just through the audio, but it might be beneficial to, if you are driving, pull over and take a look at the actual setup of the cones and how that progresses. It's about a 5 to 7 yard box. You can make it bigger or smaller pending the athletic ability and skill level of your group. But setting up several of these allows you to get dozens and dozens of players really working hard. This drill, as I mentioned in the recording, is a conditioning type of drill because of how fast and how often you're cutting. So like I said, yes, you're stationary for the catch and for the throw, but that's only a small moment of the drill. It's catch, throw, cut. And as soon as you kind of get to your new spot, you're going to catch, throw, cut. And it's a continuous evolution of that. And I'll go over some of the different stick work focus points and things like that, but wanted to try this for a podcast this week and see if it's beneficial for coaches to, look at / listen to an explanation of a drill like this. Please give us some feedback if you enjoyed this or if you'd like to see other drills in this format. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to comment below or reach out directly. Enjoy.
Okay, 4-cone, 3-athlete stick work. So jumping into a stick work progression here. All right, let's forget about this middle cone for the first rendition of this. So you got 4 athletes, and what I want to do is I want to kind of help the athletes understand. Let's pretend there's almost like a rope that attaches those 4 cones. Okay, imagine those are all straight lines. As the athletes go from cone to cone, we want to see if they can stay outside those ropes. A lot of kids will kind of cut this corner here. Not the end of the world. It's just helpful as we do this stick work. It will help the footwork if we have that coaching cue. Okay, so here's how this works. So there's always an open cone. And so wherever the ball starts, it could start on either corner. It could start on either of these two. So let's say we have mostly righties. The simpler version would be the ball starts here. Okay, so what you do is you pass the ball to the kind of middle player. All right, you're not going to make a diagonal pass. It's going to be an adjacent pass. So you're going to pass the ball to the middle player that's currently in the middle, and then you're going to cut to the open cone, and it's that on repeat. So this player just caught this, passes it to the new middle player, or you could just think of it as, hey, pass to my left, cut to my right. Pass to my left, cut to my right. All right. And so this would be an example of, I really have 3 different options from a stick work perspective. I could do this whole drill righty, right? So this player is throwing that ball righty. This player is catching that ball righty, and he's going to throw that ball righty. Or this could be a drill where I catch this righty, switch to my left hand and throw it lefty, catch righty, switch to my left hand and throw lefty. Okay. Or this could be a drill where I catch it cross body lefty. So if now you kind of look at my little camera screen here, if you are throwing it to me, my first example is catch righty, throw cross body. Second example is catch righty, switch hands, throw lefty. And then the third example is cross body, catch lefty. But you see how I'm closing my body as I catch. I'm not catching lefty, then turning and throwing that way. I'm learning how to catch across my body. So as I catch the ball, I become closed to the pressure. And then we would start the ball over here and do the other direction. Now the ball would go from here to here, pass to the right, cut to the left, pass to my right, cut to my left. Okay. And then what we're teaching with this skill, really the coaching cue here is we're building the habit of cutting after passing. Okay. I'm building a habit to cut after I pass. And I'm simplifying, in a way, I'm simplifying the passing aspect of it because they get to do it standing still. So they're going to cut to a spot. They're going to be able to catch and throw with their feet kind of planted with good balance. They don't have to throw. I don't want them throwing on the run in this drill. Okay. I want them throwing and then running. All right. And then what we do is we add this cone to the center. And it's the exact same progression, but now every cut is a V cut. So let's say the ball started here, throw to the center player, cut in, and then out. Everything's a V cut. So he's throwing this way, cut in, and then out. So same progression. He's throwing this way, cut in, and then out. All right. So now every cut becomes a V cut. Okay. One thing to note with this, especially as the V cut gets added, it'll be more obvious or it'll be more helpful to add this coaching cue. So let's say I'm this player. I just threw the ball. Maybe it was righty, maybe it was lefty, whatever. I just threw the ball over there, and I know I'm going to V cut over here. So I'm running. I'm just running in right now, and then I'm going to plant my right foot on the ground. Now I'm running out right now. As I'm running, if you have an advanced group, or a group that starts to actually get this and the spacing of your cones makes sense, the ideal flow of this would be as that player's kind of getting out, the ball is already making its way from here to then here. So it's like as he's arriving, it's like time to make that catch. That's the ideal timing of this. And so that's going to challenge the footwork because you can imagine this player is running in and now they're running out. This ball is almost kind of coming from behind them. Okay. If they're still running this way. So now we're teaching them how to run and like swivel their hips. Let me spin this around, swivel my hips so that I'm now square to the center cone. So if you imagine this player facing the center cone, that's where we want them to end up. So it's like cut in, cut out, spin your hips. And now you have the ability to see that ball coming. And you already know, because this player would have been making his cut as that ball's coming to me. Boom, I'm already seeing that next pass I need to make. All right. That concept can be helpful in a lot of situations. Man up is a good example to think about. We don't need players switching their hands and all that and the other thing, but we want them to pivot so that they can see more of the field and maybe see if the skip pass is there or something like that. All right, but love this drill with a big group because I'll set a bunch of these up, and this is literally conditioning. If you get them to understand this drill, you can only do this for 90 seconds, per technique/direction before they will start to slow down because of fatigue. Questions, comments?
Closely are you paying attention to the accuracy of the passes in that drill? Like, is that a thing that you're coaching up, or is that not as big of a deal in that drill?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I would lean more towards having extra balls around and don't
Okay.
don't chase a ball because I care more about the timing of the cut and the attempt of trying to cut hard into an attempted catch. And one thing I think about too is like, if there's athletes that are maybe not perfectly experience-wise matched up, like there's one athlete out of these 3 that like stinks and like throws shit passes. I'm trying to coach some of the other players that have more experience. It's like, hey, now you get to practice working on catching bad passes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's always kind of that mental aspect of it too, of like, when you have kids like, dude, come on, like that should have been a better pass. It's like, back up. There's a very, very small amount of truth to what you're saying. Yeah, it was a bad pass, but mostly anything within a stick's distance and one step within you, you should be able to make an attempt on that catch. At least get your stick to it, right? So we want to try to develop that mindset as well. But this is a drill. I care more about the footwork speed than necessarily like the accuracy. But ideally, this is kind of an advanced level drill to get going to this level with the V cut, and the timing is all right. By that point, hopefully, a player that throws a shit pass is like, oh shit, I'm sorry, I threw it at your feet. Like
Yeah.
if it's the young guns, are you coaching? What grade are you coaching, Christian?
Same as Rob. I'm third, fourth, and fifth, sixth.
So maybe for your third and fourth graders, the very first time you introduce this drill, you don't have the middle cone. This could be, hey, I'm going to roll it to this player and cut to the open cone. Roll it to this player and cut to the open cone, right? That's a totally valid way to start this, because if the accuracy is bad, you won't get any value out of the footwork.
But for you in this drill, if the footwork's great, you're not really concerned about that passing as much.
Yeah, and I will, but I would be like a little bit like, why if there was a consistency of inaccuracy, I would probably pivot.
Gotcha.
To be honest with you. All right, that concludes our episode this week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope this was beneficial to you. Again, please reach out if you have any comments or questions about this particular drill, or suggestions of drills that you'd like to see in the future. Or maybe you didn't like that this drill was embedded into this podcast and you prefer that we stick with conversations with guests like we've been doing in the past. So please let me know how you feel about it. Please let me know if you have any feedback. And as always, I will see you all next week. Thank you.